SimpleFi Solutions, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. You've probably heard of SAP's new planning solution, BusinessObjects Cloud, recently renamed to SAP Analytics Cloud. Plus, I suspect you're familiar with BPC, that for the past 10 years has been SAP's primary enterprise planning solution and has quickly become the industry-leading solution for planning and consolidation. Today, we're going to talk about joining these two solutions together to enable the entire organization with planning information and analytics capabilities. Our presenter today is Beth McBreen. Beth is a partner at SimpleFi and a senior EPM solution director here. Beth has 10 years of experience advising companies on their enterprise performance management strategies. She's enabled many organizations by creating and implementing a company-wide vision for planning, reporting, and consolidations. Here's a look at our agenda for today's session. First, we're going to start off and very briefly tell you a little bit about SimpleFi and who we are. And then Beth is going to take over and take us through a tour, an overview of Analytics Cloud, talk about the hybrid solution opportunities, the integration, and give you a live demonstration. We'll conclude with some questions and a quick wrap-up, all within the next hour. As far as SimpleFi, some of you may be familiar with who we are. For those who are not, we're an implementation partner and specialize in SAP's EPM and BI solution suite. We're 100% dedicated to SAP and offer exceptional expertise in providing budgeting, planning, consolidation, and business intelligence solutions. Our team has done these projects hundreds of times over the past 10 years, and members of our team go back to release 4 at OutlookSoft. Most of our consultants have their MBA, CPA, or both, with 10 to 20 years of finance and or IT experience. And I'm providing some contact information as far as who we are. My email, Beth's email. Lauren is our marketing director. Feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have any questions after this presentation related to this hybrid approach for planning or any other topics as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Beth.
All right, thanks, John, and thanks everyone on the line for joining today's webinar. We're going to start off, so as John mentioned, just to kind of clarify the recent change of the name. So you'll see in many of the slides as well as on the live demonstration, the solution still says BusinessObjects Cloud. The recent change is now to Analytics Cloud. So if you hear me say either BOC or Analytics Cloud, just understand that it obviously is the same tool, the same solution that we're going to be bringing to you today. We figured we'd start off with just a high-level overview for any of those that are very new to Analytics Cloud. And then we'll talk a little bit about, again, bringing this hybrid solution together, right? So what are some of the approaches? Why would be a reason? What were some reasons why companies are looking at Analytics Cloud being a complement to business planning and consolidation, which may today hold your core planning. So after that, we'll talk about that integration, right? What does that mean specifically in BOC? And then we'll get into a live demonstration, and I'll actually show you the tool, show you around where the connections are. We'll actually take a live example of loading in some volumes or some units and exporting those back to BPC, so you can see kind of the whole process as that works today. So real quick, just to give a high-level overview around Analytics Cloud, the overall vision kind of shown on this slide are the key areas and the focus areas that we look at. All analytic capabilities in one product. So what we're talking about there is the ability to look at planning, reporting, analytics, visualizations, predictive capabilities, all of that within one product. And so what you'll see, BOC certainly has that all wrapped up into one solution for you. They wanted a consumer-grade user experience, right? Keep it self-service, keep it simple for my user base. That's what Analytics Cloud does provide. Obviously, it's in the cloud, right? So they wanted to have a cloud SaaS-based solution, allowing companies to minimize or eliminate infrastructure costs, support groups to have to support the infrastructure as well. So those pieces can be, again, minimized or eliminated from an organization. They wanted a solution that is either embedded and standalone. So with the HANA capabilities, you can have an embedded analytics cloud solution that allows real-time analytics within your HANA environment, but also allows the flexibility to have standalone models, to have standalone models for planning, for reporting, that allows you to draw from different data sources, from your BW environment, from your SQL Server environments. So from a number of different sources, you have the ability to bring that in as a standalone and perform the reporting, the planning, analytic capabilities. Finally, around, again, the high-performance real-time platform kind of mentioned with the analytics embedded in HANA certainly has the real-time capabilities. High performance, while we're not going to focus so much on that today, the disaggregation, some of these capabilities within BOC to create on the planning side, right, top-down scenarios. I want to change my expenses, total company by 10%, and watch that, push all the way down to my base level accounts, my base level cost centers. All of that happens immediately. It's inherent functionality in the solution. And so, again, from that standpoint, really makes the analytics cloud solution very high performance. Won't spend too much on this slide, already kind of discussed it in the last slide, but just another view just to kind of show the different capabilities, right, within the cloud. You can see really focusing on the business intelligence, planning, predictive analytics, and digital boardroom. It does run off of Chrome, and so you have your URL. You go ahead and save it as a favorite, and that's how you can go ahead and access your analytics cloud. And then in addition to that, should you have the integration that we're going to talk about today, specifically if we were to connect from analytics cloud to BPC, there is the HANA Cloud Connector, which is a small connection that allows us to interface between those models automatically. So similar to the vision slide, kind of pulling and looking specifically around the planning, right, kind of focusing on planning now and really the key tenets. So the ability to, again, keep it simple for the users. They want to go in and be able to input maybe, core information, units, volumes, standard costs, things along those lines, cost center, expense level. So, but I want to keep it simple. I want a simple user interface to be able to provide that information. The ability to create models on the fly is a really nice feature just from a simple flat file or Excel file. So some of the capabilities around that is really nice, but keeping it also very simple for the user. We talked about the Experience One platform, so it's so nice to be able to handle my planning or build my reports, and right next to it have all these really nice visualizations within my charts and graphs. Has capabilities like waterfall charts that, in a typical Excel environment, may be tedious or cause some complications. So some of this stuff is really nice from a financial perspective as well. And then ultimately just trusting, right? Trusting, getting over kind of that hump that it is in a cloud, it's a cloud-based solution. It's based in the cloud. Know that it's kind of the modern look and feel. It has collaboration capabilities so that you can work with your other users within the solution as well. So all of that, which you'll see at a high level in the live demonstration today. What does BOC or Analytics Cloud do? Well, as I mentioned, all those different capabilities from an analytics standpoint, but when we look at really core planning and consolidated reporting, all these different areas, and when we start talking about the hybrid approach, we'll see where some of these lines of business, how it can branch off and become kind of Analytics Cloud be the sole source of input for some of these areas. Certainly with both planning and forecasting, you have the different groups with your sales and margin planning, your capital planning, your headcount planning, headcount and salary planning, certainly expense or cost center level planning, all those different, different areas within both planning and forecasting can be achieved within Analytics Cloud. In addition to that, we talked about the reporting and analytics, but also I consider simple consolidations to be also functionality that exists within Analytics Cloud today. So certainly the consolidated reporting piece, but it does also provide you capabilities to add topside entries, to have the currency translation. It does provide the ability to look at intercompany from a matching and reconciliation standpoint. So we've been able to build not only P&L, but balance sheet and cash flow statements as well. So all of those kind of, those components allow you to also work with more consolidated reporting in Analytics Cloud as well. The integration capabilities. So here we're going to talk a lot about this today as we discuss that hybrid approach between business planning and consolidation and Analytics Cloud. But the nice thing is the bidirectional integration. So taking that specific example, I want to move my BPC model into Analytics Cloud. I can do that very seamlessly. I can then also have my actual data, including transactional data and master data. I can have my connections set up to Analytics Cloud, and that can be refreshed on a schedule, gets pushed, and my Analytics Cloud gets refreshed with the latest BPC information. Likewise, I'm entering information for my forecast and my plans in Analytics Cloud. I need that information to get back to BPC, right, for my core planning. So that bidirectional integration is very important. You can see here from the slide, it's not, today we're really focusing on the integration and the hybrid approach with BPC, planning and consolidation, but you can see the list, and this really is an area where SAP is also investing a lot of time and resources in providing more data connection, live data connection, so that you can have that automated interfaces between your source system and Analytics Cloud. The predictive capabilities within Analytics Cloud, what we call smart discoveries, right? So being able to take a look at the data sets and see where certain aspects are being influenced, right? So what influences revenue, what influences maybe particular customers. So being able to identify those, identify outliers. So some of this, again, the predictive capabilities allow you to perform these smart discoveries to start to explore your data a little bit deeper, right, and understand some of the underlying data and the influencers of those. In addition to those smart discoveries that Analytics Cloud provides, they also have the predictive around the planning forecast. So being able to, the example here that I have on the slide is really to take a look and see, how much sales revenue, you think a company is going to generate in a summer. Maybe you have a very seasonal based company. So the predictive capability allows you to do that. It has a built-in algorithm that will provide these predictive forecasts based on prior quarters, prior years, that allows you to perform, again, kind of that predictive view for your forecasts for your plans. So some of that capability also exists within Analytics Cloud. So again, why would your organization consider a cloud solution? And some of the things that I mentioned before, and that I maybe haven't touched on completely, is around the cost effectiveness, and I'll certainly touch on this when we talk about the hybrid approach. But obviously on-premise solutions are costly to maintain. You have infrastructure, you have personnel that support that infrastructure. You may have other challenges where you have users that don't want to work in Excel, that aren't familiar with Excel, right? So some of those could be also challenging. The ability to have reports, have visualizations, have one solution that's going to perform all of those. All of those may be business challenges that your organization may be looking at and saying, yes, maybe a web or a cloud-based solution is the right direction for us. And so, again, some of the common reasons for investing in that cloud is around the cost, is around the innovation, quality, things of those. So let's take a step further and let's talk a little bit more about the ability to create this hybrid solution. And I have a slide here that talks about, some of the reasons to consider a hybrid approach. Right? And these are things that we've been approached with our existing customers today. So we're starting to see where companies can really benefit from a hybrid approach, those that are currently existing BPC users or those that are looking to purchase BPC but also are looking for a seamless, an easier, a cleaner way to be able to collect some of that data out in the field that they know those users won't be in Excel every day or, in more of a financial solution. So number one, that's really my first. Your Excel with our existing customers is we've that maybe even have currently tried rolling out some of BPC to some of their sales force, and they have received some feedback and are exploring other options because Excel just isn't the right vehicle, isn't the right interface for them to work within. The second really main reason to consider a hybrid approach is probably that cost benefit. The stakeholders, kind of the financial plan outside the finance organization aren't going to be frequent users of the system. So when you look at a solution like BPC and then you have your user licenses, the Analytics Cloud offers a lower cost solution. And so for those, again, maybe those cross-functional teams like your sales and operations or other that may only be providing input, once in a while, occasionally, is it maybe just for the plan? We have some companies that they have cost centers or their sales team that is only responsible once a year. Sometimes that doesn't warrant the need for, a BPC license, for example. Maybe you're looking for other alternatives to that. And so this may be a good way to kind of allow that hybrid approach to allow the finance organization to still obtain the information that they need, but provide that the sales and the operations and other teams the ability to have that, a quick interface to provide that information. The other one that we hear a lot is that users, our existing customers that have not extended licenses in BPC, they're doing a lot of distribution and collection, right? They may build a BPC template and they're sending this out via email. They're collecting that all in, then they're saving the data, they're saving it all back within BPC. And so it really creates this, now finance is the middleman, they've got to, perform all the collection and aggregation. These are non-value added tasks just to kind of be able to do, pull that information together. So being able to free up that time and work on other tasks, more value add tasks, again, it would be certainly a benefit. And it, again, kind of takes that finance group out as the middleman and the, possible confusion of having all the templates going around to several different groups and teams, having to pull them back. So again, those are some real reasons that we, are working with our current customers, our existing customers, on approaching this hybrid solution. Certainly, the other reasons to consider it is the analytics, the dashboard, the visualization, being able to have that to sit kind of on top of what you currently have in BPC. We talked about already the bidirectional integration between the SAP systems that's available, right? So because you have that integration and it's not, oh, let's export, import, and it's not a manual process, it can be done automatically. That obviously is a reason to consider it as well, because it takes the manual effort out of it. So those are a couple reasons to approach it. Now, just kind of looking at a slide in which we have the integration with BPC and BOC or Analytics Cloud. Right, so you still have, what we're looking at is still having your corporate plan within business planning and consolidation, right? That's where all of your consolidated your consolidation is going to take place. However, there's all these sort of line of business planning, and that line of business planning occurs in Analytics Cloud, right? So we have you have your sales forecasting, or you may have other territory planning. You may have your expense cost center level planning on the operational side. You may have FTE, workforce planning. So those are just some examples, probably the more common examples that we've been approached with. Capital obviously falling within potentially a separate line of business as well. So all of those planning that may not reside in the core finance area can be collected, can be entered within the Analytics Cloud solution, and then fed back to BPC to perform the full financial plan. That may even include things like your balance sheet planning, your cash flow planning, some of those drivers, right, that you may be aggregating, pulling back from Analytics Cloud, maybe drivers that base, maybe the basis for some of your balance sheet or cash flow planning as well. So this is kind of just an overall picture of how that would work, and how typically you're not. I think the key takeaway here is that Analytics Cloud isn't a successor. It is a tool that is meant to help complement the overall planning process in BPC. And just another example here, just to show a slide on example use case. We actually are working with a company right now that is taking the piece of the sales planning right now as kind of our initial phase, where they, it's a perfect example. They have over 100 sales managers that they will not be in Excel. They need an easy interface to be able to provide volume input, to be able to provide this information. So on the top half, that's where their sales managers, they are logging into Analytics Cloud. They're providing their information. That volume input then gets pushed back to BPC, where the final consolidation is taking place, where you may have some additional below-the-line P&L planning. There's the management reporting that is currently also being handled within BPC at this particular client. So again, just kind of to show then some of these additional pieces then may be built out as well within the Analytics Cloud, with the expense planning, the HR planning, the CapEx. So all of that then gets pushed down. So as we're working, obviously going to see benefits to allow that sales team to quickly input their volumes and have that being pushed back to BPC. So how does the integration work with BPC, with business planning and consolidation? There is, within Analytics Cloud, there is a connection, and I'll show you on the live demonstration. We'll go to that, and I'll just show you what that means. But essentially, again, keep in mind that the theme for Analytics Cloud is simple. This should be a self-service tool. So you can see from some of the screenshots, I select my source model, and then I'm able to basically identify what my environment is in BPC that I want to go ahead and push to BOC or to Analytics Cloud. and what the target model is going to be in Analytics Cloud as well. There's things such as, do I want to make it read-only or planning enabled? So there's different flags that you want to mark when you're going ahead and importing a model into your Analytics Cloud solution. So all of these, again, but keeping it very simple, the ability to kind of import a model from BPC into BOC. So that typically is our first step, right? The filters, the mappings on the connection. So being able to set up your mappings, obviously what my dimensions are in BPC or in BOC, we should have that mapping cross, right? So if BOC, how does it map back to BPC? BPC, how does it map up to BOC? So you have the and then in addition to that, any filters or other that you want to set as part of the integration. You'll review your dimensions, hierarchies, and planning cycles. So this is also a nice feature from the directional integration where we're taking and pushing planning and consolidation information to Analytics Cloud, right? So the example is not just transactional data. So if you're loading your actuals to BPC and you also have your master data integration sourced with SAP, right? So you have new accounts, you may have new cost centers, new products or customers. That information, when you run your connection, not just transactional data, but also master data as well, gets pulled into Analytics Cloud for you. So you don't have that duplicate input, having to update Analytics Cloud individually. So both master data and transactional data will go ahead and import. Then there's certain preferences. Obviously, are you going to pull in, if you're a company that has foreign currency, do you want to pull in just local currency and allow Analytics Cloud to do the translation? Do you want to load in pre-converted actuals, both local currency and reporting currency? So there's some functionality or some options around that. There's also the scheduler, allowing you to schedule the connection capabilities, right? So whether it's an import or an export from Analytics Cloud, you can identify whether you want to update the model now, or you can go ahead and set your schedule settings for a particular time of the day and repeating. Okay. All right, so let me just move over to Analytics Cloud. All right, so what we have here is just to kind of recap the last few slides. What I want to do in the live environment today is just give a real high-level overview of feature function, and then really focus on, I want to take us through an example of what that means around the volume input. So we'll go in, we'll enter in some units, we'll set up our connections for the export, so you can kind of see the simplistic approach to being able to do that on the fly. Certainly, again, I can have that that connection already established if need be. But we'll go through that so you can actually see live how that works. And then we'll go ahead and export it to BPC, and I'll open up a BPC report, and we'll see how that automatically updates. Okay. So what I have here is we start off on the home page. Home page is customizable. It's by user. So as you look at potentially using this solution as a hybrid approach to BPC, you can see here I have different reports and graphs. Here I have a tile in each one of these little boxes. We call them tiles. Here I can launch my Q1 forecast. So right from here, I could have one large tile. I can launch this right away. That just brings me to my input template, right? And I can enter in my information. I could, again, if I'm going to push actual information up this way, or I'm going to provide additional, I can have reports, I can have graphs. But I think most importantly, if you have a targeted group that's responsible for something, you also would likely have a launch point just to go right to their template. Keeps it nice and easy and simple. In addition to your homepage being for visualizations or being a launch point to your input templates, it also can provide notes and information. Here I've got an event that's due to me where I have a monthly forecast due. So the events and the collaboration capability also exists in BOC. So just to take that, and you can see here, I also, actually if I scroll down just a tad, I also could have a tile that would be recent stories. So if I didn't have a launch point, I could have a recent stories. Stories, the terminology stories, if you're new to Analytics Cloud, stories is where both my reports, my analytics, as well as my planning templates, my planning grids exist. So it can show me all, my last accessed templates or reports, and I can go ahead and just click on that to jump into it. I'm going to back up here first and just show you, if I draw your eyes up to the top left of the screen, then we also have, this is our main menu. So again, our home page is based on user. You can apply whatever tiles you would want. You can, again, if it's out to a sales organization, you can just have everybody have just the launch of the template. But maybe you want to provide actual customer information or other via reports or via graphs on the home page for them. In addition to that, so the main menu bar up here to the left, you can see I can get to my home page. I can create some new things. I can create new stories that we just talked about, boardroom agendas, that falls into the digital boardroom arena. I can create new models, new allocation processes. Browsing, this is obviously everything that exists already within your Analytics Cloud solution. So I can go into stories. We'll go into those in just a moment. And we'll look for that volume input template and take a look at that. But again, being able to browse and look at our existing stories, our existing models, looking at if I have foreign currency, my currency tables, all of that is what's already been established and set up in your solution. Events I'll click on real fast. I won't spend a lot of time since we're really focusing on integration here. But again, just as we look at from a hybrid solution, just wanted to point out that BOC or Analytics Cloud does have, events and process capabilities. So if I click on here, you can see I've got just a standard calendar. I've set an event, a task oriented for sales and margin planning. I can see that I've assigned it to one person. This could be assigned to my whole sales organization to have this completed by a certain day, and also has a link to the actual input template that requires input. What's nice about this is that it automatically will generate the collaboration aspect of it. It automatically generates the emails for your sales team, anybody that's assigned, right? Provides that information. They get an email saying this is due on this date. They can click on it. It jumps them right over to their template. So again, nice from a collaboration standpoint. Just wanted to point out that you do have some of that process flow capability within Analytics Cloud as well to keep things structured. You can see that there's even a status here where I have status as pending, so I can see additionally what regions or territories maybe have finalized their input for me. So just, again, quick touch on events and kind of the collaboration capability within Analytics Cloud. Security is just like many other solutions. You've got user-based security based on different roles, whether you're an admin, whether you are just responsible for basic input. Right, so there's a lot of different roles. You can assign teams. So again, fairly standard security when it comes to security setup and the different roles that you assign there. Deployment allows you to export or import models, Analytics Cloud models. So if you were moving things to different environments or other, you could certainly take advantage of the export-import functionality. The connection, I'm going to go ahead and click on connection here. Connection, this is where we build those connections to the example that we're doing today is for BPC. But so for example, I can look here. I have my schedule. I'm set on my schedule status. So I can see the last time that I ran it, that I connected. I can sit and I can update now. This is kind of my on-demand button, where if I want to pull everything, maybe I have new actuals or new master data in BPC that I want to pull into Analytics Cloud, I go ahead and click my Update Now button. This is where also I can define, if I don't want it just to be on demand, I can go ahead and set up my schedule settings as to how often I want it to run. Also gives me details the last time I ran, how many, what's been updated for which dimensions, and how many records have been updated. So it kind of provides that audit trail for me as well on the data loads, the loads that have happened from BPC to Analytics Cloud. We'll just leave this without saving. Okay. So essentially that's, I can have different schedules for that. I can have my different connections here. I can set up a new connection. You can see here from the connections, this is similar to the screenshot in the slide deck. I can import data connections from all these different, and actually there may be one or two here from that has already been added since the last time I updated that slide. So you can see, again, additional data sources are being added here to be able to create these connections. We also have the live data connections that are going into play with HANA, BW, S4HANA. Okay. All right, so let's go back and I'm going to go to my browse, and I'm going to go ahead and select Browse Stories. When I do that, you'll see that, again, at the top, I've got different selections that I can click on. I can look at all stories. I can look at public stories. I can look at my stories. So what all this means is typically I can create a story. I could create a graph or a report or an input template, and I can keep that private to myself. I also then have the capability to publish that out to other users. So you have, again, along with your security capabilities, you also have the ability to have private and public versions. So here I'm just going to go ahead and search on my all, and I have a story out here that I call Gross Profit Planning. And we'll go ahead and open this up. So here's an example of a gross profit planning story, if you will. You'll see I have unit input. I can have my average selling price, cost, and then, at the end I can have a report that views that. So you can see, again, if I click through, just like tabs pretty much in Excel, I have the ability to kind of click on here. I can see here's my sales price, and I have my costs. This, of course, could be at a more detailed level with your accounts. And then ideally, then you have your report at the end. One of the things I'm really not focusing in this webinar, but just to kind of point out, because it goes along with this overall story, is the ability to perform driver-based within Analytics Cloud is also a capability that exists, right? So I can update my units, my average selling price, or my cost, and my gross profit is automatically going to update for me. So as I modify or I tweak my drivers, my financial reports will be impacted immediately. So let me go back to units here for a second. And I'm going to take just a simple example here. And what I did is I have a customer. I have my total products, right? And then I can see that I've got my individual products down here. Now I'm going to just flip over quickly to my business planning and consolidation environment. And I'm just going to refresh to make sure I have the latest in here. So business planning and consolidation, if you are new to that, is an Excel-based add-in solution. And here I have a report that mimics and looks very close to my my Analytics Cloud, right? And here I can see the same view, my customer, my products, and then of course my forecasted units. So I can see here that the same grouping with 30,000, 20,000 that were set, we agree. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some changes to this. And maybe we change this to 100,000 just to make it very noticeable. Notice that I'm entering my data in at a total product level. So when I do that and I hit enter, it automatically is going to update my base level products beneath them. Right, so I didn't have to go in and run any packages, any batch process to run an allocation to perform that. This is inherent within Analytics Cloud. So when you're doing scenario planning, this is, in my opinion, a really nice feature to be able to make quick adjustments. Oh, what if we need to, apply 10% more to this product line? What is that going to look like? And again, then when I make those changes, it automatically will also update my financial reports as well if we have the driver-based enabled. So here I made a quick change where I updated my 30,000 to 100,000. So I can, again, this would be, I could go in and I can copy and paste and make changes to all of my numbers. But once I'm done making my changes, then I want to go and I'm just going to show you how the export. But you can run the export process. Of course, if this is something that you maybe just gets picked up at the end of the day, it can export at the end of the day. We're going to do it here on demand just to show you as part of the demonstration how it works. So I've made my change to 100,000, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to access my model to set up my export. Go to models. It's going to ask me if I want to save my changes. I'm going to say yes. Oops, I'm going to say save all. Let's say OK. And we'll leave the page. So now we're browsing our existing models. You can see there. So in here I have a list of all the different models that I currently use or work with. And so I'm going to scroll down to my planning model because that's one that I'm working with today. That was the model that I was working in when I updated those volumes to 100,000. So I have the ability to come up on the upper right. I have a selection to export data. BPC. Could have already have this done for future when you have constant, exports back to BPC. But what I'm doing here is I'm identifying that what I want to push, I want to push back to BPC my units. So you can be very specific and filter what you want to push. I want to make sure that everything is mapped. So department is department. Let's see, intercompany would be intercompany. Time we'll leave as all. Version, I'm going to go ahead and select what version. So I'm going to clear all. It kind of defaults to all. I'm going to say, okay, just going to push my forecast. And then it's going to ask me, well, what forecast? We know that maybe in BPC I have several different forecast versions. So I'm going to look at this in my ID and description. I want to make sure that I am selecting the same and the right forecast that's going to mirror what I'm doing in Analytics Cloud. So I've selected my forecast version. This I'm going to make sure is product, and this one I'm going to say is roll forward. Okay, so easy as that. I set my mapping, and then I can go ahead and set my export. Now, you can see it's exporting data to SAP BPC. That's going to push that information back over to our BPC environment, that updated information. So that generally is how that works. We can come over here. I should be able to refresh my information, and you see how right there, there's my 100,000 that went from 30,000 to 100,000. So the integration is pretty nice to be able to, again, now I have my units within my core planning, which is still exists in BPC, but I didn't have to, I have a web-based solution where my sales organization can go out, they can enter in their units, they can enter in, what they're responsible for, and then there's an automated interface that comes back to BPC. So within the finance group, I don't have to collect templates and, select my saved data and basically run through and try and push all this information into. It's all there ready for me. So now I can take this and I can base this, I can either base the driver off of calculations in BPC. So this is just one example. You could have the drivers be done within Analytics Cloud as well, and then push all that information back to BPC. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Again, being able to take these separate lines of business and different areas and being able to focus on them and have a more effective solution, entry point interface for them. So going back, that essentially is the planning, the capability to be able to push my volumes back to BPC. You can see here if I go back and I browse my stories, I come back over here, there's several different opportunities. So as we talk about those different areas, the one use case that we talk a lot about is the sales organization, because there could be a significant amount of folks. There also could be on the cost center side. So you have things like the expense planning. Let me open that up. Same idea. You can have your cost center managers responsible for entering in operating expense information within Analytics Cloud. Same idea, being able to set up those exports, push it back. So I have the capability here to change my numbers. I can copy and paste them in. I can key them in. One of the things that I didn't show, some of the other basic planning functionality here, I have the ability to lock cells, and then I can actually do the increase of, maybe increase by 20% or 10%. I know I mentioned that before. Perhaps I want to take December, we'll just take that as an example, and perhaps I want to increase personnel expenses by 3%, right? But I only want to have that 3% be affected on my salary, wages, bonus, and burden. Everything else, I can go ahead and I can lock those cells. So now I can go to my top level, see that I'm here on my total personnel cost, and I can show my formula bar, and I can say, let's take this and let's increase it by 20%. I do that, it automatically increases it by 20% and then adjusts accordingly my different accounts beneath it. Right? So there's a lot of nice, functionality that exists as your user base within Analytics Cloud can use for planning. There's also other spreading distribution capabilities as well. So that's another example of being able to, again, at a high level, top level, being able to create and say increase by 20%, decrease by 10%. You have to save the changes. You can revert back. As I mentioned before, your users also can have their private versions, and then they can use their version management to, to be able to publish back to, that can be created, sorry, if I click here, you can see I have private versions I can work on things within a private version to myself, and then I can go ahead and publish them to make them a public version. So there's different version management capabilities as well. Okay. All right, so I'm going to conclude there with the live demonstration. Go ahead and leave page here. Go back over to our slide deck, and I will turn it back to you, John.
Beth, thank you very much. Great presentation. Hopefully you all could sense our excitement. We are very excited about this product. It was 10 years ago next month that SAP bought the BPC product and promised integration into NetWeaver and delivered on that. And now delivered once again with the promise of integration by putting BOC together with BPC to really extend the planning capabilities throughout your organization. So any BPC customer already using BPC hopefully can see additional value from using this new Analytics Cloud solution, and anybody using a third-party host-based planning solution hopefully can see the value of the integration that Analytics Cloud provides as well. So we know we have a lot of people on the phone today, a whole mix of people. If you're a BPC user or interested in becoming a BPC user and want to learn more about the solution, please reach out to any of us on this slide. We'd be happy to answer your questions. We know we have several competitors out there. We're interested in always adding quality people, so feel free to send us your resume as well. And if there are no questions immediately, and I don't see any online, we'll go ahead and wrap up the session. Beth, thank you very much. Lauren, thanks for your coordination. And everybody on the phone, thank you very much for attending. Certainly we do appreciate your attention, and would look forward to getting together with you and talking in more detail how the solution may be applied for your organization. Thank you all. Have a great day, and a little bit early, but have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.